Let's talk about Arsenal, man, because that's the other team that is going to hope to take this mantle off City. But damn it, it's going to be difficult. And results like today, they don't help in the slightest. Now, there's obviously one major talking point from the game, but let's kind of highlight it in general. I think Arsenal, the first half, was a difficult one, and Brighton are really proving to be a tough customer for any team in the league this year. I think they've started the season remarkably well. I really was a fan of their business in the transfer window. They look tough to beat, and the depth that they have in attack, bringing on guys like Adingra, their record signing and Rotor, that's a tough team to play against. But Arsenal, they get their goal through Kai Havertz. In my opinion, really, really soft defending from Lewis Dunk, but he took his goal really well, Kai Havertz, and he started the season pretty well as well too. And it kind of highlights what I said, guys. Everyone talks about Arsenal and needing a striker, needing a striker. I don't really think striker is the position that they desperately need, and I truly believe you can win a league title with Kai Havertz as your number 9. I think so. Like, could you improve on him? Yes, but I think he's a very good option to have up there. And I think the way he started the season, I thought he was actually the best player for Arsenal today. I really thought he played a top game for Arsenal. Even when they went down to 10 men, everything was kind of coming through him. He was the guy running the channels. He was the one creating chances. I thought Kai Havertz was Arsenal's best player today. And I think he started the season very, very well. But the moment that changed this game, chat, and this is the one we have to talk about. It's been obviously taking over the timeline. It's had pundits and fans alike disputing it. Declan Rice. First half, I think, to be honest with you, right, to get a yellow for that foul, I think he's even a bit fortunate. It was a bad foul. But really, he was making up for sloppy play from Thomas Partey. Really, really difficult ball to get. He kind of dives in. I think it's a dangerous tackle, but he gets away with a yellow card. And in the second half, the way it plays out, I think he again lazily dives in, or like he basically fouls. Who was it? Veltman, I believe it was Veltman. Veltman tries to take a quick free kick. Declan Rice getting back up, kind of nudges the ball away. Veltman continues his swing. I don't know if Veltman was just planning on kicking the ball, or if he was kicking out a little bit at Declan Rice, but obviously he misses the ball, completely kicks out at Declan Rice. Declan Rice falls to the ground. I think originally what everybody was thinking, and Arsenal players rushed the referee. People were assuming, oh, Veltman is going to get sent off for kicking off at Declan Rice. And if you guys notice, actually, Declan Rice is telling everybody and apologizing to Veltman, basically saying, no, my fault, guys, my fault. I kicked it away. Veltman wasn't trying to swing out at me. He just kicked the ball. It wasn't there. He kicked me. He was the one actually telling his teammates, chill. And I think they understood that really quickly. And then you see the referee pull out a second yellow card, and then eventually a red as well too, to send off Declan Rice. And all of a sudden, the entire flow of the game for the next 40 minutes has completely changed. Now, the big question, should Declan Rice have been sent off? Now, by letter of the law, and the Premier League came out very quickly and kind of announced the decision why it was made. The decision was made because they believed Declan Rice had basically, what's the word? Halted the game in an unnecessary way. They obviously used more proper language, but effectively Declan Rice was penalized in the eyes of the law because he stopped the momentum in the flow of the game. So they gave him a yellow card. Now, by letter of the law, is this the wrong decision? Technically not. However, I think this is the way I view it, right? Over the course of a 90-minute game, this kind of stuff happens, in my eyes, 3 to 4 or 5 times a game. 3 to 4 to 5 times a game. In fact, even in this game, I can think of 3 instances. Obviously, the instance where Declan Rice got penalized for it. Earlier in the game, when Joao Pedro, on like a decision that had already been called, I think it was offside, kind of loses his head and kicks the ball down the pitch. And then even at the end of the game, I think Thomas Partey fouled someone, and instead of giving the ball to them, he kind of threw it over the defender's head. So that would basically kind of like slow down the momentum. Only one of those decisions actually got penalized. Partey didn't get penalized. They just said, okay, whatever, take the free kick. Joao Pedro didn't get penalized. Declan Rice did. So what I'm trying to say here, right, is yes, by letter of the law, if you stop the momentum of the game and stop the momentum of the opposition by like kicking away at a free kick or keeping the ball and not letting them play, yes, letter of the law states you should be penalized. However, my issue with this is that referees are not consistent with this rule because, like I said, this happens 3 to 4 to 5 times a game. And I can assure you right now, there aren't 5 yellow cards handed out for stopping the game every single time it happens. So there's no consistency here. Either you call every single one like that, or you have to referee the game on feeling. You have to referee the game based on on context. And I understand, right? It's very difficult for a referee to do that because they'll tell you, I have to follow the book. But the reality of the game, the reality of the situation here is that that's not how football games are typically officiated. Context, whether you like it or not, is often brought into decisions. So, in my opinion, I don't think he should have given Declan Rice a yellow card. I thought about it a long time, but I don't think giving him a second yellow card there was the right decision. In my opinion, I didn't think the refereed a great game overall, even before that moment. And I think that moment right there completely changed the entire flow of the game. I actually think the referee in that moment made the game all about himself in that moment. So personally, I don't think Declan Rice should have been given a second yellow card. I don't think so. I hear delaying the restart is a yellow, but my point is, every single game, that's not given a yellow card. That delaying the restart or delaying a free kick or delaying a throw-in, this happens 4 to 5 times a game. And I'm telling you right now, 4 to 5 yellow cards are not handed out a game for those moments. So either every single delaying of restart should be penalized, or you have to judge on context. In that moment right there, that's without even saying, right? I think Veltman, the ball was actually rolling, so he would have been called back anyways to stop the ball dead. But me personally, I think the decision is harsh. I look at Joelinton last week, basically necklining the goalkeeper. Probably should have been sent off for that moment. Avoided it completely. So, I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lack of consistency. The one thing I don't like, right, is fans who try and make it that there's an agenda against their team. That I'm not a fan of. Because let's be honest, chat. Every single year, every single fan base in the Premier League comes out saying this. Man United fans think there's an agenda against them. Liverpool fans think there's an agenda against them. Arsenal fans think there's an agenda against them. Chelsea fans think there's an agenda against them. Nottingham Forest fans think there's an agenda against them. Wolves definitely think there's an agenda against them. And last season, it definitely felt like it at times. At the end of the day, chat, the referees just aren't good. Honestly, this is a VAR issue. This is a refereeing decision. It's not an Arsenal issue. It's a refereeing issue. And I'm telling you this right now. This is encouraged by teams. The dark arts of the game. Kicking a ball away. Giving a little nudge on corner kicks. Grabbing a shirt. Standing in front of the goalkeeper. What Ben White was doing against goalkeepers last year. By letter of the law, you're treading the line. But this is what's called the footballing dark arts. And again, the best, guys like Jose Mourinho, he'll encourage his teams to do this because those are the 1% marginal gains that you can get during games. Whether it's a marginal gain psychologically, whether it's a marginal gain in terms of gaining a few yards up the pitch, whether it's a marginal gain in terms of halting momentum. The minute you start, for me, really trying to take these things out of the game, this is where the game, in my opinion, gets too robotic and gets too perfected. I personally don't mind those kinds of things in football. That's just the way I kind of view things. However, I will say this, and I do agree here with PWN like Boz. I don't think it should have been red, but but Rice definitely gave the ref a choice to make. I hear you, to be fair. One thing I will say, it's foolish from Rice. Because first of all, he's already on a yellow card. And second of all, it wasn't like he got a yellow card and didn't do anything the rest of the game. Rice was creeping towards a potential second yellow already. So in my opinion, look, do I believe he should have got a second red card? No, I don't. However, I think that moment right there is a moment of immaturity from Declan Rice. Because it's okay, like I said, to do the dark arts when, I don't know, you just entered a game or you haven't gotten a yellow card already. Doing that kind of stuff on a yellow card that early into the second half, in my opinion, is a little foolish from Declan Rice. In my opinion, for a player of his experience, it's a little immature. That's just the way I view it. But anyways, red card or not, he got it. Let's look at the rest of the game. From there on, it was very back and forth, man. Brighton had chances to win this game. And in fact, they got their equalizer from, in my opinion, pretty poor defending from Saliba and Gabriel. The ease in which Lewis Dunk really splits Arsenal completely down the middle with that pass. First of all, I think Gabriel and Saliba were way too far away from each other. And then even when the ball falls to Minte, I think Gabriel is a little weak in that instance, to be honest with you. I think he's a little soft in that moment. I really do think the ease in which Minte kind of gets his shot off, I think Gabriel should have done better in that instance. So, same with Saliba, to be honest with you as well. The amount of distance between both center backs is criminal. And it's a bit odd to see from a partnership that had been so good for the last 2-3 years. And then Joao Pedro gets his goal. I thought Joao Pedro today, chat, was exceptional. Shifting Partey, shifting Saka, was so strong on the ball. And one thing I really like about Joao Pedro, right? He's a very technical center forward. Big guy, but very, very good feet. However, sometimes when you talk about these technical nines, these 9.5s, in front of goal, they're a little suspect. They're not as clinical as you'd want them in front of goal. But Joao Pedro is very good in front of goal. Or at least from what I've seen from him, he's a reliable goal scorer. I think Joao Pedro is definitely one to look out for. The opening few weeks, I've been very, very impressed with him. And today was another game where I think he leaves with his head held high. And in fact, it makes a decision to spend 40 million on Rutter, for me, a bit odd. Because I think Joao Pedro, up front, you got your guy up there, man. And from there, right, Brighton had their chances. A few headers gone wide. There was this one chance from, I can't remember what the guy's name was, but the goal was basically beckoning. And I think if he just picks his head up, it's a bit similar to the Watkins chance, but I actually think it's probably easier to score than the Watkins chance. I think this one is more of a miss rather than a great save from Raya. The entire goal is basically gaping. And yes, Raya does well to keep it out. But bro, you put that anywhere in the opposite corner than Raya is on, it's a goal. I thought that was pretty poor from him in that moment. From Ayari, yep, correct. I think he should have scored there. But give credit to Arsenal as well, too. They stayed in this game. They had their chances. Saka, unfortunate not to score. I think he should have scored in that moment. Kai Havertz, again, I keep saying, I think on the ball, controlling it, leading the line. There was this one instance, long ball over the top. His first touch takes him past the defender, and I think it's just brilliant overall center forward play. So both teams had their chances. I think at the end of the game, obviously, look, the red card is harsh, and I don't think he should have gotten it. But on the basis of just the actual performances, I think a draw was a fair result. But it's a disappointing one for Arsenal to take, man, because we know the fixtures they got coming up. We know they got the North London derby coming up away from home. Spurs have started the season pretty promisingly. No Declan Rice for that game. And then after that, it's the big one. City away. A stadium which, when was the last time they beat City at the Etihad? It's a difficult one. We talked about Arsenal really needing to get results this early in the season to keep pace with City, especially since they have to play them the 5th game of the season. That's a game where you probably want to get a draw and go back home. Run with a draw. But now, already dropping points now, if they drop points again at the Etihad, if they drop points next week, that leaves you having to chase City. And this early into the season, chasing City is the last thing you want to do. So I think this is a very, very detrimental draw for City, for Arsenal. Obviously, beat Spurs away next weekend, get a result against City, it's not the end of the world. You can't win every single game. But with the difficulty of the start Arsenal have, how difficult that performance was against Aston Villa, how good that win felt, to now drop points the next week, and I get it, it's not all in your hands, right? The refereeing decision, for me, changed the game. But it's got to sting for Arsenal, man. It's got to sting. One player I want to speak about in particular about Arsenal, Thomas Partey. Chat, I think this guy is cooked. Off the pitch issues aside, let's speak purely about him as a footballer. I think this guy is cooked, bro. This guy can't run anymore, man. I think he was so bad today. And look, I gave massive praise to Morgan Rogers last week. Massive praise to him because of like the ease in which he dominated, in my opinion, Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. But at this rate, Thomas Partey is making every single player that plays against him look like an all-timer. He made Morgan Rogers look like Yaya Toure last week, and this week he made Joao Pedro look like R9. Every single guy that competes against Thomas Partey is making this guy look finished. I'm getting Casemiro vibes from last year. His legs have left him. He's a very good player on the half turn. I think technically, it's always been Thomas Partey's most underrated aspect of his game. Good passer, good under pressure. But physically, the guy is cooked, man. That's even besides his injury problems. He misses half the season anyways. But at least when he used to play, those 20 games a season from Thomas Partey were quality games. Now I'm looking at him, bro. I can't lie. I think when Mikel Merino comes back, the move has to be bringing Declan Rice as a 6, playing Mikel Merino around him, and moving Odegaard a little higher up. Because right now, not only is Thomas Partey struggling and hurting Arsenal, especially on transition, but I actually think you're getting the worst from Declan Rice as well too. Because you want to play Thomas Partey so deep next to Yuri Timber in build-up, it pushes Declan Rice higher up the pitch. And I think he looks uncomfortable there, chap. I'm a big fan of Declan Rice. I think at times he gets a harsh rep. I think he gets beat with the stick, that on the ball, he's not the easiest on the eye, which is probably true. But I don't think that's his best attribute. What he brings to a game, I think is very, very valuable for Arsenal. But I think playing him this high up the pitch, in my opinion, is a waste of time. I don't think he looks good there whatsoever. And I thought today, even before the red card, I felt at times he was just chasing the game. You often see him today lunging and kind of leaving a last leg in there. It's because the game, in my opinion, was kind of passing him by in that position. And I don't blame him. It's not his role. But I think by trying to shoehorn Thomas Partey into that role, I think you're kind of hurting both the team, Thomas Partey, and Declan Rice. So look, you're not going to have Mikel Merino for 4 to 6 to potentially even 8 weeks, I think we were reading today. That's tough. But I think if you're Declan Rice, if you're Arsenal or you're an Arsenal fan, you are screaming for him to come back. Or maybe even bring J20 in there, Jorginho. Because right now, I think this Thomas Partey thing, he looks cooked, man. Thoughts on Trossard? Trossard, I was talking about him on SDS, and I think Ilyas summed it up perfectly. Trossard is a very dangerous player. I think he's probably Arsenal's best finisher. But the issue of Trossard is very similar to the issue United have, in my opinion, of Garnacho. But the problem is Garnacho is young. It's expected. Trossard, I just think it's who he is. Trossard, for me, is more impactful coming off the bench than he is starting. I think what he brings you off the bench, his goal threat, his finishing, his sharpness, I think he's brilliant bringing off the bench. Being able to bring Trossard on for the final 20-25 minutes is a fear for any team in the league. But when he starts, I don't think you get the same dangerous player. I actually think he hurts Arsenal in terms of the way they want to play from the start. I think off the bench, very, very dangerous. But me personally, you can say it's a lazy take, but I think he's better off the bench. The issue is, you could argue Martinelli is probably better off the bench too, which makes the Raheem Sterling loan signing so interesting. People are talking about, is he depth for Saka? Is he another option off the left? I think he is the option off the left. Look, it's going to obviously take a few weeks, but I think Sterling starts for Arsenal when everyone's fit. Obviously, we'll have to see, right? This is just me predicting, but I think Sterling, I think Sterling starts once he gets into the rhythm of things. But that's my thoughts on Arsenal, right? It's a tough result to take if you're an Arsenal fan, 1000%. Because when you look at that winning, ruthless machine in Manchester City and how efficient they are, every single dropped point at this stage of the season feels like a bullet. It feels like you're getting stabbed in the back. But damn, bro, that's just the Premier League, man. That's just the Premier League. City have lifted the standard so high that results that in the last 10, 15 years would just feel like, okay, tough day at the office, we go again next week. They feel so much more consequential than they did 10, 15 years ago. Dropping any points when you're chasing City feels like a bullet to the chest. That's insane. Match day 3, a draw to Brighton feels like the end of the world. Only Manchester City.